to tease out, because I want to examine this a little bit more, because I think this is one of those things where I just don't see how this works out in some way. And I say this as someone who obviously is sort of a small media entrepreneur, I guess. But the ad model it's fascinating what's happened just in the past couple of years, in that essentially it's become more efficient in some way for the advertisers. They no longer, when you describe they don't support a medium anymore, they no longer support these outfits where their yield is less than close to 100%. Can you just tease that out for people?
Well, you really hit the nail on the head. It's such an important point. Advertising provided between 50 and 100% of the revenues of all news media from the late 19th century until now. And final readers, customers have never provided sufficient funds to support a popular journalism. Advertising was crucial to having anything close to a popular, non-elite journalism. And advertisers didn't do that because they loved journalism. They did it because it was a smart business play. It was the best way to reach the audiences they wanted to reach through newspapers or broadcasting or magazines. But now they've learned, now they found they can reach those final consumers without having to pay the surplus, the premium over what they needed to pay to reach the consumer that supported media. They can do this smart advertising where now if a company General Motors wants to reach car buyers, it doesn't have to buy big ads in Sports Illustrated or on the Sunday news shows. It can simply go to Yahoo or Microsoft or Google or Facebook and say, we want to reach 5 million men, 18 to 29, who are going to be in the market for a new car in the next 6 months. And they have enough data that they will find those 5 million men, send out an ad almost immediately to whatever website those 5 million men go to. It doesn't matter what website it is. And the actual website barely gets any money at all, therefore. The money goes to the network. And this means there's no money for journalism as we understand it as we go digital. And that's the process that's going on. Now, the real important thing here, why we shouldn't get depressed and say, oh, my God, this is horrible, is that America had a brilliant journalism for the first century of its history, the envy of the world, 10 times the newspapers per capita of England or Canada or comparable countries, before there was advertising. So how did we do that? Well, we did it because we had massive postal and printing subsidies put in place by the federal government to spawn a diverse print media. And we have to think, and they understood exactly what they were doing in American history. They knew they couldn't have a democracy unless they did that. They wouldn't have a press, a journalism for the mass of the people. There would have been no abolitionist press without the postal subsidy. Not a single paper would have survived. It needed that postal subsidy. And I think we've got to think in those terms today. And this is how other democracies think. If you look at the leading democracies in the world by any standard, including The Economist magazine, they all have massive investments in public media and journalism, an order of magnitude 50 to 100 times greater than what we spend in the United States per capita. We've got to think in those terms, too, or we're going to have journalism, because the market has voted. The market says, hey, there's not money in this, and the smartest hedge fund managers in America are jumping ship. And if they're jumping ship, you can expect that everyone else is getting off right after them.
Because that is the where the rubber meets the road in terms of this conflict. That it's obviously good business practices for these companies to advertise to a group of people they know who meet the profile. 1 out of 9 out of every 99 out of every 100 times, versus trying to get a yield of 35 people for every 100 that they reach with their message. So, and one of the things I know that you discuss in your book is this idea of how to subsidize that via, and it escapes me now what the idea was called, and I think it was developed by Baker. But what is this notion of subsidizing via our tax dollars, or directing the tax dollars on an IRS form?
Yeah, I mean, the crucial thing is that democracies, we need public subsidies and investments to have journalism, but we don't want to allow the government to control the nature of the news. I think that is the democratic problem. And I think all Americans, to their great credit, are really concerned about letting the government have any control over the nature of news. And if we look at the NSA scandal, it's an absolute nightmare, the idea that there would be these secretive people controlling who's doing the news and who isn't. But, as we've learned through our higher education system, as other democracies have shown us, you can set up structures to have public investments or subsidies and not have dominant politicians controlling the type of news. And in fact, the great irony is the research shows that in Northern Europe, in the most advanced democracies, the greater the public spending is to support journalism, the more adversarial the press gets, the more it feels like it's got the strength to stand up to the government. And I think these are solvable problems. I think that we just look around to our own past, we look to other countries, and the method you mentioned, Sam, is one that the great economist Dean Baker, who I suspect you've had on the show, he's done so much wonderful work on exposing the financial crisis, on the scam to try to get rid of Social Security. And Dean, with his brother Randy, in the last decade have come up with an idea that every American should be able to devote $100 or $150 in a tax credit to any nonprofit medium of their choice. So it would be a public subsidy, but the government would play no role in it. The only catch is that the medium would have to be nonprofit. It couldn't accept advertising. And anything it did would not be protected by copyright. So, you wouldn't be setting up private monopolies. It would go instantly in the public domain, so anyone could use it at no charge. And I think it's a brilliant idea. And I don't know how much time we have, but when we first wrote about this, I first wrote about it with John Nichols 3 years ago. We went to Washington, D.C., and we visited both the Federal Trade Commission and the Federal Communications Commission, and each of them at that time had set up high-level panels to study the crisis in journalism and try to figure out how to solve it. And the people on both those panels said to me, as I walked in the door, they'd read our writing on it, said, this is obviously the solution. This is the way a rational society would solve this problem. But they said, but politically we can't do that in this country today. If we tried to even propose this, we would be destroyed. And I think that's a sad statement about where we're at, and it shows what our work is in front of us. Yeah,
I was going to say. I mean, it sounds like a brilliant idea. These news vouchers, one whose time I don't see how it could come. When we look at just sort of the hostility of our government, supporting the arts. While this is sort of very simple and transparent, I can see how it would be. The idea would just be demonized in some fashion.
This, Sam, gets to the point we raised in both books, but especially John and I talk about in Dollarocracy. While in theory everyone benefits by having a rich, vibrant, robust journalism, the democracy is much healthier, it helps the economy, it makes people happier, there's only good things happen from having robust journalism. There's actually one group in society that is penalized by having a robust journalism. There's one group of society that much prefers the status quo, and those are basically the people who own the society, right. The oil companies, the banks. That there's not very much investigative work done on their shenanigans in relation to the government is absolutely fine by them. And so the powerful are not enthusiastic about journalism. They never have been. They certainly aren't now. And they are the ones ultimately who oppose this.
And I want to just turn also to just compare where we are in terms of like the delivery mechanism of the internet and mobile technology and net neutrality, particularly relative to the rest of the world, because in some respects, what we see in terms of content online and the monopolies that are created there, it's the same dynamic that happens in terms of delivery.
I write about this a lot in Digital Disconnect, and Susan Crawford's written about it beautifully in her recent book. This is one of the great scandals of modern-day America, because what's happened is, the internet access in the United States is basically controlled by a cartel. There's really no other word for it. AT&T, Verizon, and Comcast have pretty much divided up internet access between cell phones, between landline broadband. You're going through one of those three companies or two or three others that have sort of the outlying rest of the market, and they don't compete. You really don't have much of a competition, nothing remotely close to competition. I'll give a funny story. My oldest daughter was going out to get, she moved to L.A. and was getting a cell phone. She went into the Verizon store, and the Verizon sales rep said, look, basically AT&T, we have for the exact same product at the exact same price as AT&T. We don't compete with them. It was just blunt, so don't waste your time even trying to get a better deal from anyone. And as a result, Americans pay for their cell phones and for their wire broadband access much more than people pay anywhere else in the world, and they get a much crappier service anywhere else in the industrial world. It's just absolute scandal. It's pure corruption. There's nothing here that justifies this economically. What is these companies have extraordinarily a great deal of power over the government, so they get their way. And it is a true crisis. I think it's going to become one of the great political organizing issues as people see more and more of their paychecks swallowed up by these companies and the crappy service they're getting. As they talk to friends from Canada or Europe who are saying, what the hell are you paying all this money for this garbage? I think it's a scandal, and it's one we are going to see become a front-burner political issue from the grassroots because, frankly, at the top level, both parties in Washington are owned outright by the cartel.
And so what is the, I mean, do we have a sense of what the, what's the, I play this, game with my daughter about, pulling sticks out of a tower, and which is the one that, is there one that we will pull that will begin to sort of start this cascade? I mean, I can see the value of having independently or independently funded journalism that begins to start to address these concerns and make people aware of them. I mean, what is there a linchpin, or what are the linchpins?
That's a strategic and tactical question, and I wish I knew those sort of answers. I'd be a lot smarter than I am. And it's also, we're looking at the future, and it's so impossible to ever predict the future. We just look at what's happened in the last few years, and so much no one anticipated. But I do think that what we do know for sure is that our society has a lot of real tensions and a lot of real problems that are not sustainable for a long time. The sort of corruption we have in America today. Sam, in the book I talk about two major studies that political scientists have done in the last 3 years that were published by Princeton University Press, independent studies, and they both concluded the same thing, which is the working class, middle class people in this country have absolutely no control over the government or government policies that can only be understood as being controlled by the very wealthy. And, that sort of situation cannot go on forever because it produces all sorts of crises, infrastructure collapsing, public schools deteriorating, the economy stagnant, cynicism growing. Eventually, that is not sustainable. And I think we're in that process now where we're reaching completely unsustainable. And how that's going to play out, I don't know. What we try to argue in the book is that it's imperative in dollarocracy, that it's imperative that we try to make that what happens as humane and as progressive as possible. Because bad things could happen too. And our mission is to try to get informed so we can have good things happen. One of the things that John Nichols and I are very enthusiastic about is this tremendous grassroots movement to have constitutional amendments to take corporations out of politics, take the money out of politics, to guarantee the right to vote so these state legislatures that are run by Republicans can't suppress the vote in a transparent and shameless and obscene manner. And this movement has won scores of elections all over the country in every possible district. They've never lost. They've had hundreds of referenda at this point. We've got several states that have signed up. And this doesn't get any coverage, but it's extraordinarily exciting to see the momentum, enthusiasm. People are hungry for real solutions to real problems, not BS solutions to real problems.
And of course the sort of the paradox of all this is that you cite the I think it was the Bartels and Martin Gillen's study from Princeton, and 8 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, or maybe before dial-up even, I certainly would not know what you were talking about. I mean, not someone who is in academia and without access to the internet, and these things get amplified. The idea that, there is some literacy amongst the public now, that, Reinhardt and Rogoff study, which was the one that supposedly promoted austerity, was sort of debunked. I mean, the irony is, of course, that the solution to the problem of the internet could very well be also the internet.
That's right, and that's the point in digital disconnect. There's nothing in that book that's critical of technology in the sense that per se. Rather, it's just that we need technology deployed to its most progressive and democratic uses, and not simply to try to spy on people so they can sell them junk, or whatever, to manipulate them and control them. And the technologies can be put to wonderful use, and they need to be put to wonderful use.
Absolutely. Well, Robert McChesney, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you think we should know?
No, just thank you for having me on the air, and I hopefully listeners will check out the books and engage with them. And I'd love to hear from people if they do read the books.
Great. Well, we're going to put a link to both the books on our site at majority.fm. Robert McChesney, thanks again for your time today.